What is up, everybody? Good morning and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Marvel Rivals. Today we're going to be taking a look at this guy TTK. I did actually just watch a Tim the Tatman video today where he spectates the same guy. I did not know this dude played on controller, so this is definitely something else to keep in mind. And as you can see, he only plays Strange in this game. He does an absolute, just a ridiculous amount of damage, blocks a ton, and so I figured we would just go into this replay, see what this guy does. And I actually watched the Tim the Tatman video a little bit of the way through, didn't quite get through all of it today. But this guy does do some really crazy like melee cycling, melee weaving, shield weaving on Doctor Strange, whatever you want to call it. And so I figured this would be a good thing to look at, especially if you're planning on picking up Doctor Strange, if it's something that you haven't actually played a whole lot before. So it looks like we're going to be portaling off the rip here. I would love if my game loaded in, and we're just going to get right away, right into the thick of things, teleporting up to high ground. Still just standing in front of his team, using his E to make sure that he doesn't overcap on that energy in the center of his screen. So you definitely don't want to be getting anti-healed as Doctor Strange if you haven't played this character before. If you leave that meter at 100 for too long, you will get a healing absorb on you, and it's impossible to heal you. So, but he does do a great job of throwing up his shield, like throwing in an auto attack, melee weaving a little bit, trying to animation cancel a little bit, and then backing up as he sees his team get kind of taken out there. They do lose that first fight pretty heavily. But, you know, just backing up, still charging that ult because Strange is a very, very impactful ult character. I have no idea how this must feel on controller, but I feel like on PC it's significantly easier to like melee weave with extra mouse buttons and all that sort of stuff. But I can't even imagine like pressing this on controller. If you play both, or if you've played both, let me know in the comments. Is it easier to do on controller, or is it easier to do on PC to melee weave like this? But they get a nice Luna ult here that helps him get in. He's focusing a little bit more on the tanks in this situation, keeping that Doctor Strange shield broken, getting a little bit more damage on him. Unfortunately, Cloak and Dagger is able to ult and keep her team a little bit safer. Goes for a little pop over, lands the nice one-shot on the Cloak and Dagger there. Great game awareness from this guy too. Sees that the Cloak and Dagger ult is going to be super impactful there, and then goes and gets a nice ult and the one shot on her. You know, his E does double dip too. If you haven't played this character before, if you just didn't know that. Here, I think he's holding onto his E very, very long. Almost gets the healing absorb on him, but detonates it right at the last second. But his E does double dip on your ult targets. So as you kind of see, he'll knock the soul out of the body. If you hit both the body and the regular body of the individual with your E, it will double dip, do double damage. You can land a pretty easy one shot. The enemy, Bucky and Doctor Strange, go absolutely monstrous here. So they're going to lose this first round, it looks like, pretty handily. No access to that portal, it looks like. Still 30 seconds on that, so they can't portal back in and get a touch that way. But they still have a little bit of time, still on 92%, but this is going to be a really, really hard walk up forward. Still doing his auto attack, shield weaving, throwing an auto attack, throwing up a shield. Luna is able to ult them onto point here. His ult comes up, and he is going to commit to using it. Gets a nice 4-piece. Not able to get any one-shots with that Doctor Strange and Hulk blocking a little bit of his damage there. And he is focusing a lot on the front line in this replay as well. Getting a good amount of damage on them, keeping the Doctor Strange shield down, and then really just focusing on farming that ult consistently, detonating his E as it gets a little bit higher up on that energy meter. And does not actually have a one-shot for this Cloak and Dagger, so not going to be able to take out that ult. But still doing a good amount of cleave damage here too on any backliners or pseudo melee characters. Just trying to hold down this point as the rest of his team is getting kind of slowly taken out. His Widow gets a nice 2-piece though, so they might be able to recapture this point, take out the Doctor Strange, and they actually are miraculously able to get control without blowing a whole lot of ults there. I mean, they had Luna off the rip, I believe, just to get them onto it, and she's already farmed all the way back up to 92%, but the enemy team did blow Invisible Woman ult, Bucky, Cloak and Dagger, Doctor Strange. I mean, they sent a lot of stuff there too. So, as you can see, playing some good line of sight here. Throwing some auto attacks around the corner, holding up his shield a little bit. playing well around this Hulk too. Hulk shielding him a little bit as he backs up. He gets damage amped there, doesn't really seem to mind it. Holds his E for the very last second there. Again, he definitely knows the timing when he will get that healing debuff. Definitely good to play around with, know the timing, know how long you can have to hold that E, because it does do a tremendous amount of damage. So if you can end up saving it for a couple extra seconds, get a little bit of extra damage off, might be a big difference. Again, going for the backline with this ultimate, already has a pretty much a full charge of that meter in the center of his screen. Unfortunately, the enemy Hulk is able to keep his Cloak and Dagger alive with the help of that left shift, that shield. And then we see Luna ult, Loki ult come out, looking right at this Doctor Strange to try and block a little bit of that damage. Unfortunately, Doctor Strange gets a nice 2-piece on both of his healers and his Black Widow. So it's just going to be pretty much him, Hulk, and Loki just fighting for their lives on this point, needing to back up. But I think it might be a little bit too late, as Hulk is just able to melee him through that shield. And they should lose this first round. He will not spawn quick enough to get the touch with that portal that just came back up, but he will have it for next round. So let's see what he's able to do then. This is kind of interesting. It's because it's very different from the game that I watched Tim play. I think the game that he played, he was walking down the back line a little bit more. This game he's playing a little bit more front to back. I don't know if that's necessarily because of team comp, but I think he does need to peel for his backliners a little bit more, as Hulk is a little bit more of a dive character. So maybe keep that in mind. Both the portals come out in pretty much the exact same spot, dropping back down because the enemy does have a pretty good vantage point up there. They do lose their Cloak and Dagger, so they're going to be down a healer. Need to back up a little bit. And just kind of concede the point to the enemy, wait for their whole team to be back, as they do lose Black Widow as well. But yeah, there was, I mean, in the game that Tim was playing against or something like that, or watching, he just kind of walked down the back line on the first point, and he was able to get a ton of pressure on the healers, just doing a ton of damage as Doctor Strange, and they won the first point pretty easily. So this is kind of more an example of front to back Doctor Strange, really focusing on the tanks, trying to make sure that he is that line of defense for his back line, allowing the Hulk to kind of go around and do a little bit more what Hulk does. And then when his ult comes up, he does go for the backline here, gets a nice 2-piece on both the Bucky and the the Invisible Woman there. His Luna ults to keep them safe. And as the Cloak and Dagger ult fades, nothing is keeping Doctor Strange and the enemy Hulk alive. Able to take them out pretty well. And they are just going to capture the point, start building up percentage, still looking at another 46%-ish deficit, 40% deficit. Widow is going to get kind of screwed over here by the map switching around. But it looks like she's able to navigate out of that. Again, putting a lot of his damage into the Doctor Strange as Hulk goes to the backline. He tries to peel for them a little bit, but still realizes that he needs to stay and be this front line. Throw up that barrier intermittently to make sure that some of that throughput damage doesn't go and hit his backline. Enemy Hulk pops ult here and is just going to be causing a little bit of chaos. Not able to block any of that with a shield, so he tries to get a little bit of helpful damage on that. And this is where the enemy Doctor Strange and Hulk are kind of running down his backline. They're able to take out that Black Widow with the help of the Bucky there. And they do lose Widow. Going to be down quite a bit of damage here. Still just throwing auto attacks into the enemy, popping up that shield a little bit, and he's already farmed back ult. He's ulted so many times this game. I think this might be his 4th or something ult. So gets a nice ult on the enemy team. Unfortunately not able to capitalize as he is knocked around. But Luna should be able to keep her team pretty safe. The enemy Doctor Strange kind of throwing there, just ulting into a Luna ult. I believe that was popped before he actually did it, so not a great plan there. Invisible Woman on the enemy team ulting as well. And this Hulk is actually playing a little bit differently as well. Vinny, I guess it is Vinny. I didn't even realize when I was looking at this. I just kind of got into this and tried to do it live. Just first impressions sort of stuff. But yeah, Vinny's playing pretty much right next to him the entire time. I think he has a little bit more flexibility just because Strange is playing a little bit more front to back. But it is this nice little duo. Lots of frontline durability here. And then Hulk can defend the backline or dive if he sees an opportunity to do that there. So, as you can see, he does go in there, get a little bit of damage on the backline, and then jump back. Eye of Agamotto comes out, hits both the healers with it, tries to take down other people with it. Unfortunately, he is going to be imprisoned by the Hulk, so not able to get that follow-up damage on his 90 or so meter. This guy does do a really good job at building his meter as well, building his meter before he ults. I see a lot of other Doctor Strange characters where they were just kind of ult and not have full meter, so they don't have any of that follow-up damage. They're using like a, you know, not very charged up E, so they're not able to land that one shot consistently, trying to build that after the ult, and it doesn't last for that long. So Invisible Woman is going to be ulting again. That is actually the Loki ult, Hulk ult, Cloak and Dagger ult, and Bucky ult all coming out from the enemy team, countered by Widow and Cloak from his team. So they do trade 2 ults for 4, it kind of seems like, in this fight. So they're sitting in a good spot. Still have control over the point, so all they need to do is get the enemy off of it. He gets a nice pick on the Loki with the Eye of Agamotto there. Gets a nice couple melee weaves, doing his auto attack melee, throwing up his shield as well. Does a great job of melee weaving and cycling. Getting some good follow-up damage with the help of his Hulk, just kind of standing right next to him. And we'll go into a third round with the score of 1-1. See what we can do in this third one. Opting to portal right off the rip, pinging his team back, I would imagine. And they're going to go and try and take this high ground right here. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the enemy portal, because they are kind of synced up as far as that is concerned. Throwing out some more auto attacks. Popping up that shield. Not really getting in range where he can get a lot of melee attacks weaved in here as well. Trying to drop his shield down, trying to hop up to his back line and protect them as they get ulted. Unfortunately, does get knocked off of high ground, and they do lose their Luna and their Hela, so they're going to be down a ton of damage. Down a ton of single target healing as well. So he's just going to be quickly taken out there. The enemy will take control of this point and start off the round with that in their control. They do get a really bad stagger on the Loki there as well. Mantis Loki, I believe he just swapped over there too. Activating that team up. I do think with Hela, and they were playing Widow the first round as well, they're definitely not, they don't have a whole lot of backline access, so I think he maybe could have actually pushed a little bit forward towards the backline here, but it is a little bit dangerous with the Doctor Strange and the enemy team able to block those heals coming in from behind him too, so might be similar to a Groot wall in that case, where his healers aren't able to keep him alive through that Doctor Strange shield. So they do force the Cloak and Dagger ult here, his Hulk ults, and then 4 ults are blown from the enemy team. Going to be a wet noodle fight, building up that meter. He's about 90, waits for it, builds that up, and then gets a nice follow-up E detonation right after his ult. That meter is already built. Very, very good play here. Weaving in some melees as Doctor Strange throws up his shield to make sure that he can melee through that. Very, very clean fight. I think they only popped 3 ults, it looks like. 3 ults to the 5 or so, 4 of the enemy team ults. So very, very good trade as far as ult economics over here. Playing some good line of sight here. Hulk playing right next to him. Going to be able to keep him a little bit safer with the help of that shield. And if you want to watch this replay too, I will put the replay ID in the description below. I think a lot of people also do play a lot of dive Hulk, but this is probably a very good example of how to play front to back Hulk as well. So throwing up this Doctor Strange shield, trying to shield his team from the Eye of Agamotto. It doesn't look like anyone on his team was actually affected by it, so it does a great job of blocking that. Luna also popping her ult to become unstoppable and keeping her team alive as they go on to point. Getting some nice melee weaving here, using a melee and canceling it with that auto attack over there. And again, playing right next to this Hulk, getting a lot of follow-up damage, building up that ult because that is their kind of win condition on some of these fights. Lots of CC. Actually gets like a solo ult on this Squirrel Girl here. Has a good amount of meter, not able to get the one shot on her. Is forced to throw up his shield a little bit late there too. just barely surviving as the Loki pops the Luna ult on his team, able to keep his team alive through that Invisible Woman ult, through the Squirrel Girl ult on the enemy team. And it should be fading here in a second. But his Cloak and Dagger staggers her ult with the Luna. Going to have a lot of durability as they fight for this last piece of control. 20%, 15% to go here. And chasing this Hulk to high ground over here, knowing if they stagger him, this is going to be a huge way for them to win. And there we go. They do take him out. He's going to die in a terrible, terrible, terrible spot. And the enemy team is going to be forced to fight this 5v6 in the last and most important fight of the game. Score being 1-1. Gets a nice kind of 360 damage on that E. Able to take out the Psylocke here too, kind of blind firing into the distance, and they usher in the victory with the help of that Luna ult, with a couple follow-up picks, and secure the 2-1 victory. So very good example of how this guy plays. Lots of very good auto attack and shield weaving there. A couple melee weaving examples, but this guy does play incredibly well on controller. And he does get MVP, deservedly so. Gets a ton of ults, farms those very, very quickly, and plays that front to back game very, very well, protecting his team and then going for those ults right over the top. As you can see, he does a ridiculous amount of damage, almost 40k. He's gapping absolutely everybody on his team as far as damage is going. Doctor Strange on the other team also does a ton of damage. Bucky, but he is contending with the Bucky on the enemy team, which is a little bit crazy. So if you guys want to see more of this content, if there's any players you want me to spectate, please don't hesitate to leave a comment, like the video if you liked it, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.